Joining us now to talk truth from Nashville, senior advisor for the Gingrich Super PAC, Rick Tyler. Romney advisor Babe Buchanan's in Washington tonight. And here in Atlanta, Ralph Reed, the chairman of the Faith and Freedom Coalition. Rick Tyler, I want to go to you first. You're a longtime friend of Newt Gingrich. You know the pressure from conservatives. I understand the speaker's pride. I understand also he can see a path to come back. What happens if Romney or Santorum wins Puerto Rico, Romney or Santorum wins Illinois, and then, say, Santorum wins Louisiana? Would the speaker think again then?
I think you have to go back to what Newt said in the very beginning. If he could, if there was someone in this race who could actually beat Barack Obama, and these two, Mitt Romney and Rick Santorum, cannot, and could actually change Washington, neither one of them has a record of reform, real reform change like the speaker does, then he would have endorsed them. And if one of these two were the guy, he would step aside and endorse them. I absolutely believe that. But they aren't, so he's going to stay in. And while you know, everybody admires CNN's ability for election coverage, and I certainly do, I think it is equally difficult for Romney to actually get the requisite number of delegates by Tampa. My estimation is all the candidates arrive in Tampa with somewhat equal footing. That is, none of them will have the requisite 1144. And on a second ballot, I don't think they would go for Mitt Romney. And in that scenario, I'd give even money to Speaker Gingrich.
Well, Ralph Reed, you're a veteran, as Rick is. You're a veteran of these rodeos. So I want to ask you, and I understand his loyalty to Speaker Gingrich, and I admire it. I think everybody in this process should be loyal to their guy. But if you're where you are right now and you're Speaker Gingrich, and you're a distant third, I'm having a hard time with Rick's math. How do we get to Tampa unless Speaker Gingrich suddenly turns the world up on his head and they're all roughly equal with Governor Romney?
Well, look, Newt's a very smart guy. He obviously knows that it's uphill, but I think it's extremely difficult to tell somebody whose congressional career began running a congressional campaign in 1964 in Middle Georgia, and who's been one of the most significant figures in the party in the last 30 years, helped usher in the first Republican majority in the House in 40 years, that he ought to go sit in the corner and shut up. And so I think if you really look at the way this is being handled, John, both Santorum and Romney, and I would suggest even party elders, have to proceed with real delicacy, because if you tell somebody they ought to get out of the race, sometimes it can have the opposite of the intended effect.
I understand the delicacy. I understand the delicacy, Ralph, but you do the math. Can you see a plausible path to, not a Gingrich nomination, but to Gingrich getting so close to Governor Romney that he could show up in Tampa and say, me, not him?
Well, look, I'm in the business of encouraging people to run for office, not in the business of telling people not to run. The reality is this. If you boil down what you did at the map, John, there are 1,358 delegates yet to be chosen. Romney needs 694 of those, which is about 48%. He's on track to do that. The dynamic would have to change probably to deny him the nomination.
Bay, as someone who is loyal to the Romney campaign, would you prefer Speaker Gingrich stay in? Governor Romney does better in the three-way scenario, right?
I think it's terrific that Speaker Gingrich stay in and see if he can't go right into that convention and try to represent his constituents there. Yep, I think there's no need for him to pop out of this race.
You say no need to pop out of the race, but what about your candidate? He just, you know, he came close, but he was third in two southern states, only a few points behind. Doesn't he have to prove himself in the geographical base of the Republican Party?
No, listen, there's no question that last night Santorum got some bragging rights, did well down there in Mississippi and Alabama. But the key here is that Mitt Romney won the day. He won that evening last night. He won more delegates than anyone else, same as he did last weekend, same as he did Super Tuesday, and he will continue to do this. That's how he's going to win this nomination. Each week go by, he increases the gap between him and these other candidates. Today he has more delegates than all the others put together. So we are on track, as Ralph Reed pointed out, to win this thing. We're going to do well, we think, in picking up delegates this weekend, and then again next Tuesday we'll pick up more. I mean, Rick Santorum, there's several districts in Illinois next Tuesday. Rick Santorum wasn't able to come up with a delegate slate. How can he expect to turn things around, win almost 70% of the delegates so that he can win this thing if he can't even get delegate slates in key places? So that's where we are. We are really strong. There's no question Mitt Romney is going to be the nominee of this party.
Some people do have questions. I'm going to ask everybody to stay put. We're going to continue the conversation on the other side of the break. Let's continue our conversation about the road ahead in the Republican presidential race. We're joined by Rick Tyler. He's the senior advisor to the pro-Gingrich Super PAC. Babe Buchanan is a Romney supporter. Ralph Reed leads the Faith and Freedom Coalition. Rick, I want to come back to you first, because this pro-Gingrich Super PAC that you helped run has been instrumental in keeping the speaker in the race. Sheldon Adelson, a casino owner out in Vegas, has been a big donor. Are you having any trouble? Is the money still coming in when you look at this now? And Speaker Gingrich's own campaign had said he's going to win from South Carolina all the way over to Texas. He loses Mississippi and Alabama. Isn't the money going to dry up?
I think the money will be a challenge, but I don't think this is about money, and I don't think it's about buying the Republican nomination. I think this is about the heart and soul of the Republican Party. Our team is a very small team. All of us have been loyal to Gingrich. We've steadfastly kept the professionals out even when we had money because we wanted to keep Speaker Gingrich's interests at heart. So the decision is really up to him, and we'll be there as long as he's going to fight on. I believe, as I say, that he'll arrive in Tampa on equal footing in the sense that he will not have the requisite amount of delegates, but neither will Mitt Romney and neither will Rick Santorum. So in a second ballot scenario, in a brokered convention, which I actually think would be good for the Republican Party at this time, I think I'd give Newt even money to win that contest.
Ralph, you say you're not in the business of telling people to get out of the race. You're in the business of helping them get in, but you're also pretty plugged into people around the country, at the grassroots level and at the establishment level. And I know the grassroots doesn't often trust the establishment. What are the conversations today about this race going forward? I'm going to get to Bay in a minute. I know there's a lot of criticism of Governor Romney's message, that if he wants to close the deal, he needs a stronger economic message. But what are the conversations about Speaker Gingrich today?
I mean, you know, John, really not that much different than the one we're having tonight. I mean, I think a lot of grassroots conservatives and a lot of evangelicals, and by the way, John, if you take the 16 contests for which we have entrance or exit polls, from New Hampshire and Iowa all the way across the South as you head towards the Rio Grande, 50% of all the voters who've darkened the threshold of a voting booth in these primaries has been a self-identified evangelical, and Romney's only getting about a quarter of those votes. So the problem here is not Newt or Rick or before that Herman or Perry. The issue is that Romney's got a deal to close. He's got to be able to convincingly, cogently, and persuasively make a case to the grassroots of this party that if he becomes president, he's going to advance their public policy views and he's going to fight for their values. And it isn't an opponent that's causing the issue. He's got a job left to do. I think he and his campaign know that, and that's why I think this process has been so healthy.
And so, Bay, how is he failing to do that? What does he need to do differently?
I don't think he has to do anything differently, John. He's winning. That's the key. If you look at those people most concerned in our party about the economy, Mitt Romney wins overwhelmingly. What's the general election going to be about? People concerned about the economy. When you look at people who they want to see Obama beat, thrown out of office, Mitt Romney wins overwhelmingly. He's clean sweep the popular vote here. Over 1 million more votes than Rick Santorum. He's winning in the delegates. He's won most of the states. He closed the deal in Florida, in Ohio, in Arizona, in Michigan, the big states, swing states, in Virginia. Mitt Romney is overwhelmingly the front runner here. And for us to suggest suddenly we got to change our message is ridiculous. If you want to talk evangelical, there's no question that's Rick Santorum's strong suit. No question about it. But what else does he got going for him? Not much.
All right, I'm going to end this conversation tonight, but it will continue in the days and weeks and contests ahead. Rick Tyler, Babe Buchanan, Ralph Reed, appreciate your help tonight. We'll stay in touch as the roller coaster continues.